TD Ameritrade Network contributor Jenny Horn to the show to talk some Monster beverage. And Jenny, remind me if I'm wrong, this is the name that we often, I think every time we talk about it is, I think like the best percentage performer since its inception as a public company out of all of them, or am I remembering incorrectly?
No, you would be 100% correct, Alex. This is a company I'm very passionate about watching because they say to, follow the stocks that you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. And I consume, admittedly, a lot of Monster. So like you mentioned, they're considered one of the best performing stocks of the last decade. Since their 2003 IPO, the stock is up over 60,000%. So that's crazy. I mean, it's just one of those things. You look at a chart from their inception to now, it's ridiculous because this name has just never really stopped going up. And it's amazing. It's been totally resilient in the pandemic as well. We see 45% gains in 2020. And it just goes to show there's a reason that stock is up 60,000%, right? It's very, economically proof for whatever conditions the market sort of throws at it. And there's some different factors contributing to this. They've actually fared this food services business well, which has weighed on some of its competitors like a Coca-Cola, a PepsiCo. It actually has not really been affected by that. They're also seeing strength across the board in their energy products. This is just beyond Monster. Companies are seeing strength in their energy products. Coke Energy is seeing this strength, Bang Energy, and then Monster's other brand of Rain. So energy products are doing really well in today's environment. Another thing is the stay-at-home orders have led to a change in consumer behavior. So we're seeing a splurge in at-home consumption, which has been a key sales driver for Monster. So across the board, beverage companies have been benefiting from also the increased investments in e-commerce and digital sales because, of course, more people are purchasing online, and but Monster has done a really good job sort of growing their e-commerce presence. And they actually had some news. A Citi analyst raised their price target on Monster to $99 a share with a neutral rating. And this followed the company's investor meeting yesterday. She said specifically, Monster will continue to deliver outsized top and bottom line growth relative to its beverage peers. So there's some factors behind that. First of all, I think this is interesting because it totally makes sense. They're seeing foot traffic at their convenience and gas station channels witnessing strongly improving trends in the second quarter going into the third quarter. Because you think about where are you buying Monster? It's not necessarily the grocery store. It is at more of a convenience store. Another thing is they said, I thought this was super interesting, is supply chains for Monster in the third quarter remained very unaffected. They actually specifically cited their aluminum can requirements are meeting volume demand despite the fact that the industry as a whole is seeing supply constraints for aluminum cans. So I'm not really sure how they're avoiding that headwind, but they are. Another thing is their energy drinks category specifically rose almost 10% year over year to $1.16 billion in third quarter, which I know sounds kind of ridiculous because you think Monster is an energy drink company. All of their products are energy drinks, but they're not. They actually offer a very diversified sort of broad range of products, including teas, now the Java, and now there's this electrolyte drink that competes with, say, like a Gatorade or a Powerade. So they're actually diversifying their product line and all the products that go in it. And in third quarter, we saw them launch a bunch of new products. They launched a new flavor of Rain, a new flavor of Monster Tea. They just launched Monster Espresso and Ultra Paradise, all these different products just in the third quarter alone. And investors like that this company is continuing to grow. And actually, social media really likes that. This is a popular name on social media, near and dear to my heart, because investors are really liking that they're continuing to grow even amid this sort of ongoing pandemic, which brings me to our first tweet, which talks about their investor day and some of these new products, which says, Monster Analyst Day should produce some nice headlines of new product launches and expansions. The one I am most excited about is 12-ounce cans will open up the brand to a whole new user base, usage occasions, while effectively taking a material price increase. So, I mean, that is so true. Monster really only comes in like 16 ounces and larger, which I can't personally understand the need for a 12-ounce can because I think I've moved up to like the 32-ounce cans. But, I totally get that. But our next tweet actually talks about something that's interesting, and that's the AB market and some of this hard seltzer talk we've talked about, which has been the fastest growing segment of alcohol sales over the last year. So our next tweet says, so no announcement yet from Monster on hard seltzer, but they are working on it. It's not the news some wanted, but they wanted to be differentiated. There's a lot of work out there on distribution side too. Sounds like to me it's just a matter of time to me. So Tom, I know you're one that loves the White Claws, and hard seltzer sales have been really strong over the last year and a half. So, do you think this could be a potential, movement Monster to go into alcohol, or do you think this is just all hype and we're not there yet? Because I think if they're entering the alcohol market, hard seltzer would be the one to be.
Definitely, and I think if I do recall, at the beginning of this pandemic, Jenny, I think I sent you over a case of Monster beverage, so it was helping support your habit there. But I think if you take a look at some of the products that they're supposed to release in the first quarter, and alcoholic beverages is going to be one, that's a big. That's a big seller, right? But if you've looked at sales, maybe they're late in the game because sales at Boston Beer Company, which owns Truly, they're actually starting to pull back a little bit now that we've had the lockdowns, right? Because you and all your gals go out to brunch and you're drinking hard seltzers, by the bucket, and people aren't going out as much anymore. So hopefully they didn't miss the boat on that. But if you look at the growth in this company, and after their analyst day, they grew at EPS grows at 17% a year. They're lowering expenses. They're actually increasing their product foot. They're taking market share. Pepsi just bought Rockstar, and that's not working out because they're actually losing share in the space while Monster expands. So if you look at the free cash flow on a company like this, they're doing really well. And I think a lot of investors are excited for that new product launch here in Q1, which might include alcoholic beverages. And I think Jenny will be on board there.
Tom, is it that they're selling less Trulies because people are buying less hard seltzer? Or is it because every single one of these beverage companies already has them besides Monster? If anything, they're joining a saturated market. So I'll push back on that a little bit. Maybe they can find some new interesting game changer in the alcoholic beverage space to shake things up a bit. But Jenny, great setup here for us. We'll unpack this one a little bit further here, but have a great weekend and thanks for joining us. Jenny Horn, TD Ameritrade Network contributor. As we say goodbye to Jenny, I want to welcome in the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, Megan Brantley, to the show to continue talking Monster Beverage and unpacking some of their data they're mining from social media. Megan, this is an interesting conversation because, I mean, personally, I don't know when the last time I had a energy drink is, but from everything I'm reading this is a market that's booming.
Yeah, you may not have had an energy drink in a while, but there's one sitting on my desk right now. And I think that there's probably one not too far away from Jenny, too. And based on our data, I don't think that this is, that Jenny and I are isolated cases. Whenever we look at mentions of consumers buying and consuming a Monster product, those are on pace in the last quarter to be the highest quarter that we've ever recorded. So I know that, last quarter, whenever Monster reported, they said that the net sales were the highest that they've ever had in a quarter. And we're showing in that Q4 that's highlighted right there, a continuation, a building of demand on top of that already great quarter in the past quarter. So I think that, this ability to continue growing consumer demand, as Jenny mentioned, in the middle of a pandemic is pretty impressive. Whenever we look at mentions, it's interesting. We pulled all the mentions from September to say, okay, what common themes, what trends are helping to drive this? We see an increase in grocery mentions. And so I think that this makes sense, this strength in grocery, this strength in consumers consuming Monsters at home. We also see a strength in gas station mentions, people talking about stopping at the gas station and picking up a Monster, which is interesting considering, the road trip trend that we've been tracking, things like that. And then we also see an increase in gaming mentions. So people who are talking about gaming and drinking a Monster while they game, I know that there's somewhat of a meme status there, but, it's never bad whenever you're a company and you're meme worthy. So it's interesting to see the kind of the consumer shifts and trends that are driving and propelling Monster, but they're certainly setting up for continued growth.
Yeah, and Megan, based on your data, typically you see Monster, maybe supporting these Uber athletes, like whether it's, the active sports guy that's driving dirt bikes and
Nigel Houston.
Yeah, exactly. So did you guys see any data pick up on any of these drinks, especially Monster. When they sponsor Tiger Woods' golf bag now, so they're moving some of their sponsorships actually into more mainstream sports. Have you guys tracked any of that where it's actually helped the stock?
You know, that's a really good question. One thing that we try to do is we try to filter out any type of marketing or advertising type mentions, because we really want to get to the heart of, are consumers buying Monsters? Are they buying energy drinks? What are they talking about? What do they like about this? Where are they buying them? Things of that nature. So we're less likely to capture or try to capture, you know, a Tiger Woods mention, and more likely to capture maybe Jenny buying one before, you know, while she preps for the show. So I think that is where our mentions show the power of, you know, while yes, it's valuable that Tiger Woods or maybe associated with Monster, it's more valuable to know if that association actually drove consumer purchases. And so far, based on our demand, there could be an argument that those things are working, just because we are seeing an uptick in the amount of purchase activity whenever it comes to consumers talking about buying Monster. I think another interesting thing to look at is just the overall energy drink space to begin with. We have those mentions pacing almost 10% year over year, and you see Monster exceeding this. So I think that that's a positive indicator that Monster is continuing to expand their market share, because Monster's growth rate is exceeding that of just generic energy drink purchase intent mentions. And in fact, in these energy drink purchase intent mentions, Monster was mentioned about 10% of the time. So that's pretty strong. If you're a brand, you know, that's definitely the direction that you want to be trending.
Absolutely. And of course, companies like Monster and their competitors, they know the markets that they're targeting. This is typically a product that skews to a younger demographic. So things like the action sports might be more of who they're trying to capture, as well as you mentioned some of the esports stuff with video games, professional video games. But Megan, my question to you is, obviously you're looking at companies in this space, as you said, the generic brand and where Monster lies. I think you just said 10% of those total energy drink mentioned are Monster. Are they the main player, or is it still Red Bull and Monster's chasing Red Bull from behind?
You know, I think that whenever you look at a total market share perspective, Red Bull still has the market share. But when we're looking at consumer mentions, we're mainly keying in on people who are, you know, picking up something at the gas station, picking up something at the grocery store. You're not necessarily going to see those food chain mentions in there as much, right? And so in that mention of the generic energy brand trend, we actually do see Monster as the clear market leader. I think up behind them is Bang Energy. And then behind that, you see Red Bull, and then finally Coke and Rockstar. So I think that there are other players in the game, but Monster is by far the market share leader, at least when it comes to the tweets and the data that we're looking at on the consumer side of things, who are purchasing for, you know, in-home consumption.
Which is important too, with all the restaurant and bar closures. You know, so many of those partnerships that these companies have aren't as big of an impact to the bottom and top lines right now. So those gas station convenience store purchases are really driving things right now. This is important information, distinctions to note. So Megan, great stuff as always. Great setup for us. Have a great long holiday weekend, and we'll see you next week.